Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sincerely Agile with Mary. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, this is the show where we promote the lean agile mindset and a place where we want to be awesome and wholesome together. And I am your host, Mary Lanio, as always. Now, today we are looking at a very important topic. I work in the agile space. We have people working as professionals, we have people running businesses. So you will definitely be finding something to take away from this conversation because we're looking at, from human resource to agile people. How can we, shift from the mindset of looking at people as resources? And to, help me in this conversation, I've got Pia-Maria Thoren, and I'm just going to welcome her to the show. Hello, Pia.
Hello, nice to be here, Mary.
Thank you so much for honoring our invite. I remember I met you for the first time in Nigeria. You were actually there as a speaker during the Agile conference run by Abi Oshoba. And you were talking about Agile people. What else do you talk about?
About Agile people,
Always about Agile people. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show, Maria. Some people, I believe, are joining us. Let me just see who's joining us. Okay, we have Ronke joining us on LinkedIn, and I'm sure a few more people will join us. We've got about 5 people so far joining from different platforms because we stream on LinkedIn, we stream on Facebook, and where else do we stream? YouTube, and on YouTube. So let me introduce, we've got Michael Lanio, yes, and we've got Kemi from Lagos as well. Thank you all for being here. Now, let me introduce Pia-Maria to our audience, and then we can kick off the conversation. Pia-Maria is a key influencer in Agile HR and leadership, a popular guest at conferences, and participates in numerous interviews on podcasts and blogs. Pia-Maria is passionate about using the Agile mindset and values to motivate employees to create better organizations. Her goal is to make people work towards a common vision through employee engagement with her creativity and motivation. She is the author of Agile People, a radical approach for HR and managers that leads to motivated employees. She is the founder of Agile People Global Network as well. Pia-Maria, you are welcome to Sincerely Agile with Mary. Now, how have you been? The last 18 months has been not what we all expected at all. And you are based in Sweden, right? You're based in Sweden. So yes. How has it been for you, your family, business back in Sweden?
Well, like most, I would say, Agile coaches or many Agile coaches, I was traveling a lot before COVID, so it came to a stop. Actually, it was just after the conference in Nigeria. I came back home to Sweden, and I was just repacking. I was going somewhere else, but I never got to go anywhere else because I was stuck in Sweden, right?
Yeah.
All my conferences, all my trainings for 6 months ahead were canceled during 2 weeks. So it took 2 weeks, then I had nothing. And what do?
Exactly.
You have no work anymore. It's about very quickly and swiftly turning around your business. And that's what I did. So I started to record videos. I started to learn mural canvas tools and, started to train my trainers because I have a network of Agile people trainers in the world. And by the time they were about 60, today we have about 90. So we have increased the last year with 30 more. Wow. But I think it's because of the online training. It's a very good format. But 2 months to totally turn around the business from physical training business to online training.
Absolutely.
And it's actually a lot more successful. So it was a good experience for me and a good move to make from the physical training to the online way of working. And you can do it from your home,
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? COVID compelled us to really think differently and to leverage technology to really be able to, work remotely. I mean, look at what you said. Who would have thought? You're actually saying that you're more successful with your online business than you were with your, face-to-face business. I just came off a certification just a few days ago, and and what you find with those online training today is that it's quite diverse. It is quite diverse. So you're, reaching out to people that probably you would ordinarily not be training, isn't that right?
Yes, and
So
you have people joining from all over the world in
all over.
every group that is in English. That is,
Absolutely.
because if you have it
Absolutely.
in another language, if I have it in Swedish,
Yeah.
obviously it's mostly Swedish people joining. But
Exactly.
in English, you can have people from Singapore, South America, South Africa at the same time. So,
Absolutely.
and it's a totally different blend of cultures and opinions, and much more diversity in the training.
Absolutely. That's a huge opportunity that the, online training, makes available to us. Now, we've got a few more people joining us. We've got Temi Tokwe Awere here. He's also an agilist. I'm sure you're really interested in this topic, Temi Tokwe. We've got Frank joining us from Abu Dhabi. We've got Oten. I don't know where you're calling from. If you want us to know where you're calling from, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you so much. Now, Pierre, we're talking about HR. About time, we really amplify this conversation. I mean, it's a conversation that we have to keep amplifying because the consequences of not doing the right thing, they're just so huge. So our topic today is from human resource to agile people. Now, but before we, take that topic, I know you've said that, you are an agilist from your heart, and that it comes through in your personality. Tell us
Yes.
more about that, because I sort of align with you here. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I realized I'm agile when I went to this agile master course in 2009. That was actually after that, everything I do is spiced with an agile mindset. So it's really in my core personality, and I've been thinking a lot about that. Can a person be agile? And yes, I've come to the conclusion that you can, as a person, be agile. And I'm working with a tool called Reese Motivation, where we look at basic needs, psychological basic needs. And those basic needs can actually be more or less agile as well. For example, the need for order and structure. Is it high or low with you? The need for saving, is it high or low with you? The need for acceptance, or the need for power, the need for independence, etc. So your personality can be more or less agile. And if we by agile mean working in teams and being able to change and being flexible and spontaneous, then that would require people who are low on independence, because that means that you are more of a team worker instead of a lone wolf, so to speak. It would mean that you are lower on order and structure because you're more spontaneous. You like to change plan. It's not a problem for you to change plans. It's something that you do naturally when there is a need for it, right?
Absolutely.
So, and low saving is about generosity, is about wanting to share your knowledge, wanting to share with other people. So this is agile people. People are more or less agile in their personality as well.
Absolutely.
So you can obviously behave like if you are agile, but maybe you are not really in your heart.
Yeah, but it's interesting you say that, because when I look back at human history, I believe agility is not a new phenomenon. I mean, for a very long time in Africa, I remember we had trade by barter. I mean, that is an agile mindset right there. I don't have A, but you have A. I have B, you don't have B. And we can come together and share. In Africa, I remember Tales by Moonlight. I remember the village square. I also remember that in an African context, we have a proverb where we say that you're, in as much as you're the biological mother of a child, it takes a community to raise that child.
Yes,
So, I mean, these are should I say, ways of being that has been with us for a very long time.
yeah,
And sometimes when I think back, it's almost as though that industrialization was what actually started to put humanity into a box, if you like.
yes, yes. It
Industrialization started to mold and label humanity,
yes.
and perceive humanity, people as robots. That's the way I say it.
Yes, I agree with you completely, because that was when industrialization started. That
Yeah,
was when the people went to work in the factories, and
yeah.
that when management was invented. And you know who invented management? It was Arthur McKinsey who invented capital budgeting and management methods and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started the famous consultancy firm, of course, McKinsey
Yeah.
Consulting, with the budgeting, capital budgeting, pay for performance, all these management methods
Mm-hmm.
are only addressing part of the system, never the whole system.
Yeah.
And they are just looking at a small part, business process engineering, balance scorecards, all these consultancy methods that
Yeah.
make the consultants rich, but
Yeah.
they didn't create that much value for the people and the organization as such. So
Absolutely.
really it started with the industrialization, and
Mm-hmm.
it's time that we, I think, maybe remove that notion of management again, because we don't need them, do we? we need
Yes.
we don't need change management. We don't need project management. We don't
Mm-hmm.
need formal managers anymore today. We just
Mm-hmm.
need smart people who are constantly growing, developing, working together in a common direction, and they will
Absolutely.
solve the problem if
Mm-hmm.
we let them.
If
Because
you let them, if you create the right environment, they'll solve the problem. I mean, I was watching one of your videos, and in that video, as soon as you got on stage, you told everyone to get up, and you said they should then pair up, which they did. And the instruction there was, have you ever been in a situation where I think you had an idea, but you were afraid to speak up, or you had a question, you were afraid to speak up? And that went on for like 5 minutes, and the hall was very noisy. And in my mind, I thought, boy, what are they all talking about? I mean, what did that tell you?
yes, it's about psychological safety, really.
Yeah.
That you do speak up when you're engaged about something. It's not about complaining. It's really about making your voice heard and letting people have
Mm.
voice
Mm-hmm.
in those situations. That's when we know we have psychological safety. If people are quiet, if we don't hear from people,
Yeah.
then we have a problem.
Absolutely, we do have a problem because, like you said, it's not about management. It's about creating that environment in which people can actually, express themselves and bring value to the table. Okay, so we've just talked about how, coming from the scientific management era, a lot of that management style is still, lurking. How might chief executives today make a shift to a chief enabling officer? Because, like you said, it's about creating that enabling environment. So,
Mm.
how might they begin to take that baby step towards that shift in mindset so that they can create that, an enabling environment that, includes, promotes psychological safety, that
Mm.
enables people to come to work fully and be the best they can possibly be?
So I always talk about a three-step process. It's awareness, training, and coaching. And that goes
Mm-hmm.
for all people, regardless if they are CEOs or employees or teams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness is to understanding the need, is to understanding the shift in society and in the environment, the external world, that to be successful and to be competitive in the future of work, you have to change your style. And then it's to get the training, and then it's to be coached, to understand and to really change your mindset. You know all this. But the problem is that they've been working for so long, maybe 30 years in the same way, so that the brain is then changing into certain patterns, and they are all the time revisiting these patterns, and these are the patterns that we need to break, right? But it's very different if they are aware about the need to change or not. Because if they are aware, then they can start to, for example, show vulnerability. It's a very good way to start for a chief executive officer to say to their people. That's extremely powerful when a manager is standing on a stage saying that I'm not perfect, I don't have all the answers, I make mistakes, and maybe talk about a bit about these mistakes.
Yeah.
Then they are opening up for other people to also do the same thing, so that everybody can learn from them. And that's a necessity, I would say, if they want to create a psychologically safe organization where people work because they want to, not because they have to, and where they can find intrinsic motivation and move together towards collective goals and create value for customers. But if they are not aware about the need for change, or if they are not, they don't want to be aware, let's say, for change, it's really difficult, right?
Yeah, but talking about if they are aware, or maybe they don't want to be aware, or maybe they don't want to change, because quite frankly, the literature is out there. I mean, with COVID also, I think there's been a lot of spotlight on organizations and the need for change, the need for more agility, the need for more responsiveness, adaptability, and all of that. So I think there's enough literature out there, enough success story out there for leadership, if they really want to be intentional about this. I mean, it's going to be a huge shift, like you said. If people have been in this space for 30 years, 20 years, and all of a sudden you're telling me to step into a different mindset, it is a journey. And it is a journey, and of course, this is where as coaches we come in to help them systematically walk through that journey.
But you cannot change another person. You can never change another person. That person needs to change themselves, and that's understanding. And if there is fear with management, for example, then they will not change. If they are afraid of, maybe they're afraid to what's going to happen to me. My formal management role, when we go through this transformation, this agile transformation, what's going to happen to my status, my power, my salary, my position, all these things that I've worked really hard for. I've been working for 20, 30 years, really hard to achieve that and to be where I am today. What will happen to all this? So that's a tricky question. And we're not making it possible for them to change, because if we should make it possible for them to change, we first need to change the system, right?
Exactly.
Then we gradually change the mindset, but it's only the leaders who can change the system.
I was just going to say, who's going to change the system? It's the leaders.
Yeah, it's a catch-22, right?
Yeah.
They will not change mindset unless the system changes, and they are the only ones who can change the system.
So they have to embrace the need for that change first, to say, you know what, about time we make this move. I mean, like you said, it's just like we go into organizations and we're trying to help them do agile transformation. One thing I'm always mindful of is the fact that, look, these people have been working in a certain way and they have been successful. So like you just said, a leader probably that's been in the command and control mindset, and there's, share prices are up there, they are very successful and everything. It's hard to convince that kind of person that that their leadership style is not successful, or it's not the right one to continue to do.
Or that they could create even better results if they change their leadership style, right? Maybe they're creating good results today.
Absolutely.
But maybe to show some evidence, hard evidence, because that's what they are listening to. Also, we have a great movement called Beyond Budgeting Roundtable movement. Who knows how to talk to these guys? They come with a suit and a tie, and they have been in these positions.
So
you can send them because they will listen to.
Yeah.
What
Beyond budgeting, that's a very interesting cohort. I mean, I have been part of one that the business agility, was running at one time. And like you did say, there's a lot of effort out there towards helping leadership to, shift into the right mindset. So let's hope we get there eventually. Stella is saying here, maybe some CEOs should go on some agile workshop and stuff like that, perhaps.
We're
Now,
actually talking to Beyond Budgeting now because they have their offices in Gothenburg now, where I live, and I know the CEO. So we're talking about cooperating, and what we are going to do is actually to provide a class, a training for the CEOs.
Fantastic.
Training, because it's not the usual agile workshop that they will go to. It's another kind of training.
But it's not enough though to just train people. Then how do you take them through implementing these new ideas that you have trained them on? How do you then help them, because they can take the training and go right back to their workspaces and it's the same old story.
Starts with the budget. The budget. The annual budget, that's where it starts. Because when you break down the annual budget to departments, then you set goals for managers to reach the goals. And you link those goals to a bonus or a salary box, right? So unless we start to remove the annual budgeting process, we will not have any luck. So we need to work a lot more with forecasting and all the time realize that we are in an unpredictable world, which means we need all the time to look at reality rather than look at the map, the budget.
Exactly. We can't, 1 year is too far into the horizon to plan for. And talking about annual budgeting, I mean, our main focus today is, moving from human resource to agile people. Now, annual performance review, we all know about that. And this is something we need to start moving away from, just like we move away from annual budgeting. Because the future of work, I mean, even as at today, organizations need to be more outcome focused. But I find that when organizations are very much into this performance appraisal, individual appraisal, what tends to then happen is that people are focused on outputs. People are focused on activities because there's John or Joanna who needs to measure them, who needs to appraise them at the end of every 3 months, every quarter. So the focus is no longer on the outcomes for the end users, okay? And the focus instead is on how is John going to appraise me? How is Joanna going to appraise me? Shifting away from outcomes. And I really hope, that organizations will begin to see that by putting so much effort on outputs, they're shooting themselves in the foot, because your outcomes is what will give you market value.
Yeah, but the problem with the performance review is that it's about judging people, it's about measuring people, and you can't measure people. It's impossible. But this is also one of the management fads, let's say, that came with the industrialism and the Taylorism and all these things, where we see people as cogs in a machinery. If we can optimize each cog in the machine, then the machine will work well. But an organization is a social system. It's not a machine. So that's where we go wrong when we talk about measuring people. It's impossible to measure people. You can measure results, but then we should measure team results instead of individual results, because if we measure individual results, it will lead to competition instead of collaboration. So OKRs, for example, objectives and key results, which you never, ever link to rewards, right?
Exactly.
You should never link OKRs to rewards. That's where most organizations go wrong. So this is an alternative model that you can work for continuous improvement, continuous learning, for collaboration, and to create transparency in the whole organization around what are the goals that we are here to achieve, what do we have to achieve.
Now, talking about human resource, the R there, HR, right? Human resource. the resource there is what we're trying to do away with now, right? We're trying to do away with that. That people should be viewed as people. Now, if we keep saying HR, HR, isn't there then the danger that we will continue to be in that mindset?
There,
So,
there is a greater danger, Mary, and the greater danger is that they change the name, but they don't change how they work. And that's what I see everywhere. They
yeah.
call themselves people and culture or employee experience, blah, blah, something, something. But they are doing exactly the same thing as before. They are putting people in boxes. They are putting grades on the boxes. They are working with the job descriptions, competency profiles, measuring people, doing gap analysis, looking at how can we close those gaps that people have instead of looking at strengths. They are looking at doing a gap analysis for a predefined job description for a specific role. All these things need to just disappear, and we need to work with much more flexible roles and flexible jobs, and letting people use their creativity and innovation and intrinsic motivation when they work. So that there is a lot of things that HR is doing in the wrong way today.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen, like you said, name change, but actions remain the same without a doubt. So, in your works as a professional in this space, this is a topic you're extremely passionate about, and for me, it's a topic of huge concern as well. Especially working as an agilist. I mean, even before I was, before I took on, extended my portfolio to the agile space, I always promoted emotional intelligence, social intelligence, relationship intelligence, the need for people to be able to come to work fully. I mean, I often say if we could put a microscope, if we could put humanity under the microscope when they went to work, just to see how much they have left behind, we will be amazed, right? That is if we're not creating the right environment for people to come to work fully. And for me, this is a space where we really, really need to put in a lot of effort. It's not just about changing names. So in your, in your work, in this space as a professional, as a consultant, what radical shift have you seen with your, should I say, engagement or intervention, where organizations, because of your intervention, they have moved from where they were to a better place? I mean, better place because at the end of the day, it's a journey.
Yes. So where we start most of the time is with the HR team. This is where they can start experimenting, and this is where they can start themselves to feel what it's like to use some of the tools and some of the methods that we're using in Agile. For example, visualization, visualizing their work on a Kanban board. Just the big shift for them is coming to work together and work as a team, because they are not today, or they are doing it more now, but it's starting to move, I would say. But traditionally, HR people worked very much alone in their own specialist area, only with recruitment or learning and development or performance management or workforce planning or leadership and coaching or compensation and benefits. They have their specialist area. They have not been team workers. They have been very much working alone. And this is something that they really feel is improving their work situation. When they come together, they share, they come together as a team and deliver, instead of delivering to the business all the time different things, and the business is getting confused. It's a program here, it's a process there, and it seems like nobody in HR is doing anything together, because it's just coming things from everywhere to the business. Instead, they can then work together and, T-shaped people, they have maybe a specialist area, but they also need to learn more about the other HR stuff. And so then they can start visualizing, and then they can start to see what benefits does that bring, and how can we then start involving the business in the work, instead of doing everything 100% ready, and then delivering to the business, because this is what they have been doing all the time. It needs to be 110% ready, because otherwise they don't think we know what we are doing, right?
That's right.
Ready. It needs to be ready, and it needs to be checked, and then we deliver to the business, and then we measure compliance to the process or the program. That's the traditional way of working. So instead, they need to start involving the business. And when they start doing that, they start to understand and get information that they didn't have before. They start going out there, starting to understand their customers. Their customers are managers and employees, but they haven't seen it that way. They have seen themselves as the police, not that the people are their customers. So instead of being the police who is doing these compliance checks all the time, that are you doing according to the process, that we implemented here in the performance process, for example. Instead, they will start understanding the needs of their customers, and then they can also deliver on that in a much better way, creating value for their customers, right? So it's a total shift in mindset for them. It's a totally new way of working. It's really beautiful when you see that they start feeling that they are creating value instead of being the police, because HR has not been particularly liked,
Exactly.
And now when they start reaching out, they become almost like agile coaches, but agile people coaches then. That's
As you were talking,
yes.
you talked about, seeing employees as customers instead of, just taking that position of being a police. And because of that, there hasn't been good relationships over the years between, the employees and HR. But everybody, coincidentally, are employees of that organization. And if things start to change, even people in HR will benefit from that, shift from, where we are now to where we aspire to be. Now, talking about working together, what you're essentially saying is that the different, HR as an umbrella, the different aspects of HR, they have also been working in silo, right? So they have also been working in silo. So they need to come together and involve the business to then actually say, what do our people need? Because at the end of the day, if you, as an organization, fair enough, you're not an NGO, you're set up to make profit, yes, but who is going to help you make that profit? Your people. So if you concentrate first on your people, you will ultimately make the profit. So that should be the thinking, right? Concentrate on the people and eventually you make that profit.
There is an HR role called the HR business partner, which has been working to support more local parts of the organization, and they are more all-round HR persons, let's say. So, and they are very, very, very similar to agile coaches. They have so much in common with agile coaches.
Okay.
Their goal is to make people perform, and their goal is to make people happy. So they are supporting the managers first with a lot of things, a lot of stuff, so that people can be happy and perform. And that's also the agile coach's role.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't see this. They think that they don't have anything in common, agile coaches and HR business partner, but it's exactly the same role if you look at it. So it's
absolutely.
It's funny. I worked with an organization, big truck developer, Scania in Sweden, and they were sitting in the same corridor, the agile coaches and HR, and they didn't talk to each other because they didn't think they had anything in common. But then I say, I'm going to put you in the same room. You are going to do the same training together in teams, and you are going to do this assignment together, how to make Scania great and how to support the people of Scania. And that's what we did. And they understood and they realized how much they had in common. So from then, they started working together all the time, and they went to lunch together even. They went to other's rooms in that corridor, and
Yeah.
totally different, a totally different way of working.
I mean, you just said you brought them together, you told them they'll have the same training, and you put them in the same room. What does that tell you? It takes you right back to the first value of the Agile Manifesto, right? Individuals and interactions. At the end of the day, I find most of the time that there's always a gap in communication when something isn't working. You can almost always bring it down to a total breakdown in communication or a lack of communication or something. Now, often you find HR coming up, like you said, with several, initiatives, this initiative, that initiative, but they are not talking to the people. Right? You're coming up with all these initiatives and they often cost a lot of money, but you have not involved the people. Again, just because that mindset that, we can just come up with this initiative and just roll it out, right?
Yeah, because they believe that if they are asking the people about what to do, then it looks like they don't know their job. Then they look incompetent in the eyes of the people if they ask the people, right?
Wow. Wow. That is an interesting one. So essentially talking about vulnerability, this is at every level. So HR should be willing to be vulnerable, to go out there to say, we really don't know what you guys want, or we would like to involve you more to find out what you want. After all, that is what organizations should be doing for their customers out there, but we are not doing it within the organizations.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah, definitely. What do you need? You're my customers, right?
Yeah.
The people, they are HR's internal customers, so I need to find out what you need from me. How can I support you to be happy and perform? Because that's what we should be doing. Then there are other things that HR is taking care of, and you can question if HR should be taking care of that. Maybe finance, for example, should be taking care of payroll. Maybe legal should be taking care of negotiations with the unions and stuff like that. Today, it's mostly HR who do these things as well. But I think that could be transferred to other departments.
And what would be the benefit of, decoupling that from HR?
The benefit would be that they would focus on the people and people's performance and happiness instead of focusing on legal stuff or, payroll processes. It's just a process that can be done by anybody, really. Anybody, an administrator could do that.
And it's a repeatable process, I guess, whereas when we're talking about human beings are complex. So you need to give more of your time to the complexity of people, isn't it? Now, talking about the complexity of people, it simply means from what you're saying that if we truly want to transform our organizations, given that, agile transformation is, fundamentally human transformation, in my opinion. When you say as an organization, you're doing your agile transformation, you're going through agile transformation, you're essentially saying we're going through people transformation. Now, if that is the case, if we're going through people transformation, then it seems like HR has a huge role to play here.
Definitely, huge role. And they can be a big obstacle in an agile transformation if they don't change their ways. And I don't think it's possible even to be or become or implement agile in an organization if you don't have HR on board and the manager, of course, as well. So that's why we in Agile People, we are targeting HR and leadership. That's our main target groups, as well as our coaches who want to learn about Agile HR and Agile leadership.
And I can imagine how much more of a success agile transformation can possibly be if we have HR as champions within that space. Because HR takes care of our promotion and appraisals and payments and legal and all of that. So if they come into the picture and they help us through that process and they champion that process, I can see how that can be very, very successful. And of course, again, like you said, if they are not part of that process, then they become an impediment within that space. Now, what else can you tell us about your successes in this space, helping organizations move from that mindset to a preferred people mindset. What else can you share with us?
Oh, that's a broad question.
It is. It is. Tell us what you can.
What I like very much is to see leaders as gardeners. The gardener metaphor for leadership is something.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Because the organization is then like a garden, and leaders are supposed to take care of that environment and tend to the plants, right? But they are very different. They have different needs. So we have an apple tree has not the same needs as a carrot or a raspberry bush or a flower, but still the gardener needs this competence, the people competence. And too often in our organizations, leaders have engineering competence and technical competence and product competence and process competence, but they don't have people skills. And this is something that is missing. You need to understand people on a deep level, what they need to be able to grow. And then you need to form the system, the soil, the culture in such a way so that the plants can grow in that system. And you cannot really scream to them, or you cannot really tell a flower to grow faster or better or more or controlling this growth. You can only create the right environment and the right soil and the right place in the garden. Maybe it doesn't grow well where there is too much sunshine, or maybe it needs some shadow, or it's different for different plants. We're all different. That's the thing. There is no such thing as one size fits all. And that's what leaders and the HR, they are specialists in creating one size fits all people, processes, and systems that doesn't fit anybody.
One size fits all is easy, though. It's easier. It's much easier.
But it's expensive in the longer perspective.
In the long run.
Nobody gets what they need, and nobody can be completely performing because you don't get what you need.
Absolutely.
So you need to talk to the specific person in front of you. You need to coach that person, understanding them, understanding their passions, their skills, their interests, their competences. And then you need to try to find the best possible spot in the garden for that person, where that person can grow and develop and create value for the whole system and the customers. And when we do that, I mean, this is an ongoing job. You need to work with that all the time. It's never ready. You can always improve. You can always have more beautiful plants and a more beautiful garden, bigger fruits, right? And bigger vegetables, or whatever the purpose is. It could be to be beautiful or to produce something. We can always improve.
Absolutely. And using that metaphor, the metaphor of a gardener, and as a gardener in a garden, you have different plants, and each plant would require different kind of care.
Yes.
You can almost see why, this whole process, one size fits all approach seems an easier one to, tend towards, because it's easier. Imagine an organization of 5,000 people. What we're essentially saying, in terms of you putting on this new mindset, is to look at each person as an individual, which they are.
Yes.
Okay? And not only do you have to look at them as individuals, they are also going through phases. So what they need from you maybe 15 years ago within the organization is different from what they need from you today. So it is a lot of work. But it is one that pays the dividends at the end. Of course, it's less expensive in the end.
But nobody wants a manager. Everybody wants a coach. So everybody should have a coach, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we need a lot of coaches out there, I can say.
Oh, we do, and that is a fun. It's a huge shift happening out there already. A lot of organizations are coming to the realization that they need more coaches. And
Yeah.
during this COVID period, I mean, post-COVID, I can't even begin to tell you the number of recruitment, agents that reach out to me on a daily basis. Mary, are you available? Mary, are you available? So I guess that organizations are coming to that awakening that they need more leadership and
Yes.
coaching and less of management. They need to have much more of a people orientation and create that enabling space for people to grow so that people can self-direct, so that
Yeah.
people can self-manage and self-direct themselves. I mean, create the environment for them and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed the amazing things that they can actually do. So we essentially need to move away from this theory X arena into the theory Y arena. It will be interesting to see what our audience think about theory X and theory Y. Are you theory X or are you theory Y? Because with theory X, that is so outdated right now, isn't it, Pierre? So outdated,
Yes.
thinking that people will not, be their best or do their best and that they have to be managed, as opposed to theory Y, which is much more optimistic. So this is where we really need to be, isn't it?
It is, definitely. We need to believe in people. And when we
Yeah,
believe in people, people will take much more responsibility.
absolutely.
Yes, and of course, I mean, breaking the rules, it should be punished, but you don't have to punish everybody, right?
Hmm.
When one person is breaking the rules, because then what happens most of the time when somebody breaks the rules is that managers go to HR and they say to HR, will you handle it? Will you make a policy so that it doesn't happen again? And then HR writes another policy and people get put in jail all the time because of this, right? And then they have a million different kind of governance structures and policies that they have to relate to all the time. And it becomes impossible and nobody reads it and it's work for nothing, really.
And I absolutely love what you've just said. I mean, one person, does something wrong, and we just go back to our policies to say, okay, which other policy can we write? But really, writing more policies is not the answer. So,
No,
what's your advice?
the advice is that managers understand how to handle these people, that they need to talk
Okay.
to them, that this is not okay. Violating the rules is not okay. We have some guidelines, we have some rules here, because otherwise we cannot work together. So the advice is that leaders understand how to work with people, and that we understand that they need these skills,
Yeah.
how to talk to people and who are violating the rules. And maybe we should, I don't know, in the worst possible case, maybe we need to let some people go.
Of
That's
course,
it.
as an
Or
extreme measure.
there are what you call it, weeds in the garden sometimes that you need to remove, right? It's obvious. We don't want all kinds of plants.
I like that analogy too. So you try your best, but at the end of the day, if you have to pull out the weed, then that's what you're going to have to do. But first of all, what you're saying is we need to have again that conversation. Shouldn't we also, if for example, if someone is not performing, instead of coming down heavy on that person, shouldn't we also be looking at why they are not performing?
Of course. Yeah, that's the first question. Why is this happening? Maybe they are doing something that they don't like. Maybe they are really not a weed in the garden. They are maybe a beautiful flower. They just didn't have the chance to show that, because maybe they had a bad relation with their manager. Maybe they have some kind of sickness. Maybe they just got divorced. Maybe they are sick. Maybe they are being bullied by their peers. There could be a zillion reasons why they are not performing as expected or that they are breaking the rules. So first, find out why, and take measures according to that. So
Absolutely. Like I said before, it always brings us back to the first value of the Agile Manifesto, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So it's not just about following the procedures, it's not just about writing another policy, but taking the time to engage with that person to say, okay, what is the problem? Like you just said, And like I said, also, humans are very, very complex. I mean, you just never know what anyone is having to deal with. And they have still pushed themselves to come to work because obviously they have to earn a living and they have been contracted to get the job done. But we need to, take it further and really, really put on that theory why, so to speak, mindset hat on to say, you know what, people, giving people the benefit of doubt, that people will always try their best. So if people fall short, we should actually be feeling concerned
Yeah.
to say what's going on here.
Maybe they hate their job. You don't know.
Perhaps,
Maybe they hate it.
perhaps.
And
And
then,
perhaps they are underperforming in one part of the organization, but they will be absolutely excellent somewhere else within the
yes,
same organization. But you can only know that if you create an opportunity for that conversation.
exactly. So the leader needs to be brave, to have the courage and the skills to have these difficult conversations with people. That's what I say. And when they have the conversation, they start with why cannot you perform? So, but I would see that as a coaching conversation, not as a kind of how you call it. As somebody is yelling at somebody because you did something wrong, but it's more of a coaching conversation. And since managers don't have these coaching skills, they are not doing that. They are scared of meeting their people and talking about this sensitive stuff, right? So they'd rather give it to HR to write a new policy. So then we have a system that will handle it instead of me having to understand another person. Because I'm afraid of being a people manager.
And when we don't do that, we miss a huge opportunity, right? We miss a huge opportunity to get to know our people better, isn't it? Because that's an opportunity right there to get to know people better.
Yes.
Wonderful. Let's see what our audience is saying. Okay, someone from LinkedIn just joined saying hello there. Ronke says, work got done and so many employees even put in more hours than if they went into the office. Okay, I think there's a conversation about going to the office there. Yes, and that is true.
Yeah.
And you know what I just found out with this COVID situation is that for a very long time, obviously, I mean, people worked from home, but in a very scanty way. COVID really brought working from home, remote working to another level, right? And I've often said that it's not as though we never had the infrastructure to work remotely. We always had the infrastructure. But again, the mindset was in the way. Trust.
Right? Yeah, it's the same thing with non-agile behaviors. It's because
Lack
we
of
were
trust.
forced. And yes, definitely about trust and the psychological safety.
Absolutely.
And that has grown now because of the pandemic, which is a good consequence, I think.
It is a good consequence. And guess what? I think people are even more productive from home. I know I've been very, very productive because, I mean, when I worked in Brussels, I used to be up by 4:30 in the morning so I can catch the 6:05 train to Brussels. I mean, today my routine is still practically the same. I'm still up at 4:30, sometimes 5 a.m. By 5, I'm already on my laptop. Honestly, that is my routine. My routine hasn't changed. So what does that mean? It means I'm doing more. It simply means I'm doing more. And I'm not alone in that department. I'm not alone at all. So, like you said, it's a good consequence, but then again, we need to be careful not to overwork ourselves, right?
Right. We need to do fun stuff as well.
We need to do that.
Fun in the office as well. It's not ugly to have fun in the office, right? Or have fun with colleagues and do fun stuff. And we can even find ways of doing that online as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it would be great.
Fika, you know fika? It's a Swedish fika is when you get coffee together, you sit and chat, and you do a lean coffee, for example.
Coffee, yeah.
You don't have to just talk about work all the time.
No, it doesn't.
You can also just, hang out.
Absolutely.
And talk to people because you miss that when you're not in the office, those water cooler talks or, when you have a coffee together. We actually have a virtual coffee every Wednesday at 3:00 in the afternoon, we have a virtual coffee in
That's
Agile.
good.
Everybody's
That's good.
welcome. Everybody's welcome.
I mean, we need to be intentional about having fun online as well, isn't it? Because, like you said, if we were, I mean, back when we were in the office, all those informal hallway conversations, meeting in the lift, meeting by the coffee machine, going to the canteen together, all that is missing right now. I mean, in as much as I love working from home, I also miss the human contact. So, working remotely, we really need to put in the effort and just, reach out to one another and make work fun. Well, Pia, this has been an amazing conversation with you. I love your passion about Agile people. And I know you also wrote a book, right? Agile People. That's the name of the book.
I have 3 books actually, Mary. The last
Okay.
one is called Agile People Principles, Your Call to Action for the Future.
Right.
And it's been written by 35 Agile people across the world. So many people have contributed to that book. And it's about, we have 34 principles actually that we
Wow.
work with, and we try to increase. So
Mm.
every person has written about one principle. And
That
it's,
is fantastic.
yeah.
That is awesome. And I believe we can get that from your website. This is Pia-Maria's website, Pia-Maria-Thoren.com. You will get all the information you need. She also runs courses on, Agile people, how you can make your organization more people-centered and, oriented. So if you want to know more, by all means, check out her website. Pia-Maria, I can't thank you enough for the time you have invested here on the show with me this evening. We are close to the hour now. And to our audience, thank you so much for showing up. Stella says, and Swedish biscuits. What are you talking about, Swedish biscuits? Oh, she's talking about the coming together.
No, cinnamon buns is what we have in our Swedish fika with cinnamon buns. That's very Swedish.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Mary, for having me. That was
Thank you.
very nice conversation.
Thank you for making time. And for our audience, I hope you have picked up a thing or two. If you're a business owner, if you're a professional, if you're in the HR space, then, and you're still doing things, the traditional way, you're not going to be able to do that for long. The future of work demands better. And people also now have a voice. People have a choice. So we really need to get our acts together within our organizations. So thank you all very much for showing up today, Pia-Maria. Thank you so much. All right. See you some other time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. To our audience, thank you for showing up every Sunday. I'm sure you can tell from my voice that I'm a little bit under the weather. I'm taking 3 weeks break. So we will be back on September 5th, the first Sunday in September. We will be back with another show, another interesting conversation. But I honestly cannot thank you all enough. Stella Da Silva, Ronke Mopae, everyone that shows up, every Sunday, everyone that's been here today. Thank you all so much and have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.